Hey buddy, it's a Mad Master here. I'm doing a video today, and this one is bound to be controversial. At the same time, I feel like it's a really necessary subject to bring up. By the way, this is a metal off your ass shirt. No, I'm wearing a Metallica shirt for those people triggered by my Megadeth videos that I don't like Megadeth. I've only seen them live 4 times. Anyways, never mind. Bashing people. And they see the Metallica things in the background, they think I'm a fanboy. I'm not a fanboy, I don't. I was making fun of them on Facebook all day. Anyways, it is kind of ironic that I'm wearing a Metallica shirt. But anyways, Iron Maiden is my favorite band. But anyways, enough about music. So this video is about a word that is similar to another word, and both of them ostensibly, in my estimation, have the same meaning to some extent, to a large extent. And that is the words globalism and globalization. And what do I mean by this? Well, back in the 90s, the late 90s, there were these protests in Seattle. There's documentaries made about this. It was a huge deal. And this was an anti-WTO protest, protesting the WTO, which is the World Trade Organization. And back then, there's some interesting things going on with that. So, you had people like Alex Jones, who was definitely, I don't know if he went to these protests with his megaphone or whatever, like he used to do with a lot of protests and stuff, but he was definitely in the mix as far as, even by then, with regards to some of the stuff. You had Pat Buchanan, paleo-conservative / some problematic things about him, but, and then you had Jello Biafra or Noam Chomsky, people like that on the left. And everybody was kind of united as far as the far left, quote unquote, and far right, whatever you want to call it, libertarian, paleo-conservative kind of people against globalization. And that's what's really interesting, because this was a left-wing buzzword at the time. Anti-globalization, globalization, like these unaccountable bodies of bureaucrats, or people that are in corporations going into public life and out, like the sliding door thing. These people were, seen as dangerous. And globalization was dangerous to sovereignty and to, people's basic rights as a human being. And that's what a lot of people wrote books about. I mean, Naomi Klein wrote a few books about that, and people were writing books about it and talking about it. It was a huge thing. It was a huge deal. Oh, I was just looking at a message. I always do that on this phone. So this was a big deal, and there really wasn't a lot of propaganda against it in a certain way. Like, there was, but I've noticed that, like, if something like this happened now with regards to protests, the media would be all over it, like, and probably try to label these people as loons or whatever, anarchists or whatever, or, well, probably make them seem right-wing, honestly. And I think the media tried to ignore it more often back then than castigate it as something bad. So what happened was, this word, stuck with me as a person, as a young person, much younger back then, of course. And it was like, yeah, this is the enemy, right? This is the bad thing that we have to go against. The WTO, the NAFTA, GATT, these international organizations, But then what happened was, a few years ago, well, the Iraq War and the scandal with 9/11, all that stuff happened, and people kind of forgot about this. A lot of the left, like people that were on counterpunch.org, those types of people would talk about this stuff still. A lot of leftists would. But it seems like a lot of the left kind of forgot that this was kind of something to fight against. especially the Democratic Party, who co-opted. I mean, the neoliberals is, look up what that means, what neoliberal is. And they took over the Democrats and the globalization proponents. Globalization. See where I'm leading, right? This is going to be an interesting video. Then there was a shift that happened back in the maybe 2005 through 2013, 15, 16. People started using the word globalist. And I will admit, some of the right wing definitely has some of the stuff from Blavatsky and all this shit, like this, German, Teutonic, like anti-Semitic kind of shit. Like, there is some of that element in there. I mean, that's where some of this comes from. I'm not saying the globalization thing even is close to that, but these elites that are financiers or whatever, you can say that it's kind of anti-Semitic. I mean, the thing is, though, bearing in mind the people that don't tie those two things together or try to add some nuance to it, if you take away the right-wing ring of the globalist thing, like the more conspiratorial elements that some of these people say, as far as when they talk about this stuff, it really is not anything different than globalization. It's the same damn thing. And the right adapted this anti-globalist thing, which ostensibly a lot of time is a sham, unfortunately. I think Trump had a little bit of that in there, for real. I think there was some legitimate things Trump did. He tore up the TPP. But then again, there was rumors that he was going to rewrite some of these things, and it would be essentially the same thing in a lot of ways. I saw a lot of coverage about that. So now saying you're against globalism or even globalization might make you seem like a Nazi right-wing loon, when 20 years ago this was a rallying cry of the left to go against these actual organizations. And it's, you can, like I said, some of it is tied with some conspiratorial anti-Semitic thinking, unfortunately. I think that's a smoke screen as far as when people attack or smear this whole movement, the populist movements and such. They only make, when you're talking about this, you're going to make neo-Nazis infiltrate these movements, like, oh yeah, we can go against the evil elites, who are from a certain lineage, and instead of like I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a minority of people that are actually of that descent in a lot of these organizations and stuff. I'm not saying that there wasn't a background of people of certain lineage that have gone into these things, because that's just the way that the cultural trajectory has gone. This is just acknowledged. Let's just acknowledge I'm of descent of the certain lineage, and I'm rich. Right, check it out. I'm not really rich, but I'm just saying, like, I'm of descent of that. So I'm persona non grata to a Nazi for sure, by the way, because I have enough matrilineal lineage from that. But let's take that out of the picture. Let's cut that out and throw it away. Globalization and globalism are the same fucking thing. Period. They're talking about the same corporations a lot of the time. We're talking about the same elites. We're talking about the same bullshit, like laws and agreements and all sorts of treaties and stuff. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the same damn thing. The anti-WTO movement is morphed into right-wing populism to some extent. And that's a shame, because the left really could use those ideas. Bernie Sanders was sort of ostensibly into that before he sold out, of course, which I believe he did. I'm sorry. I watched Jimmy Dore's videos about this, or Jackson Hinkle's, but he has sold out the movement, as predicted by some left-wing commentators even. But yeah, the globalization and globalism are the same thing in many ways. Maybe there's a little bit more of a conspiratorial ring to the globalism ideas and stuff, and certain conspiratorial movements that are maybe named after tricksters from Star Trek: The Next Generation. That's all I'll say. That letter. Who knows? Hopium, right? Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's a psyop. And they talk about globalism too. Of course, they are completely. It's like that discredits the actual work of actual activists and actual people that are against this shit. Now you've looked at, read the Gray Zone or some of these fucking like Counterpunch or some of these outlets. They're against globalization just as much as ever. I haven't read Counterpunch in a long time, but a lot of these people are. And we used to talk about, as far as sovereignty and international bodies not being able to make laws against one country versus another, elites from other countries, and this is why this reason alone is why I watched Charles Warwick, even though I disagree with him on Trump. I disagree with him about many things on the left and liberals, because I still consider myself a liberal on the left to a certain extent. I still believe in Medicare for all eventually. I still believe in free education to some extent too. That's just like kind of something I believe in. I still believe in the Northern European model for many things. Maybe try it on a state. One state can try it. I don't know. I mean, guns, I'm definitely way less left-wing than I used to be because, just for various reasons. Raised basically to fear guns. Taking away my G.I. Joe guns, my parents, even though I couldn't own the Transformers ones because they were robots. Anyways, I think it's hilarious. I think it's fucking funny. But yeah, I mean, I'm evolving as a political person. I still believe in those two things. As far as how taxes are done and all that stuff, I can't really. Economics, I'm going to say that I'm still learning about economics. I don't know if Austrian economics have ever worked in anywhere. Essentially, like I'm socially libertarian. There's no denying that. But there's a few things like Medicare for all, free education, that I'm sort of like, well, you could probably do it to some extent, right? Because other countries do it already, and they're not falling apart. Like, some fucking Prager University thing might say. They're much smaller countries. There's much, more hegemonized people a lot of the time, but they're not falling apart like fucking, Somalia or something, you know what I mean? Or like fucking, some chaotic country, or Detroit, even though that was Democrats too, but, just like, they're not like suffering that terribly, is what I'm saying, with these basic things like universal education or universal medicine for people for free, or sort of free, and you can argue all day, this such and such, this doctor, all these doctors from America, but there's a lot of doctors from other countries that are doing all sorts of medical cures and shit, and a lot of all sorts of treatments that are coming out of countries with totally nationalized medicine, is my point. It's not, doesn't mean that the meritocracy is good, but I'm saying, like, a lot of people aren't only motivated by the profit motive. But anyways, I'm not going to argue these subjects. That's not the point of this video. I'm still saying that I'm on the left because I still believe in those things, such things. But I am following some people like Charles Warwick, also known as Six Hacks and Hammer, because he attacks the same things that I don't like. He hates a lot of. A friend or enemy of my enemy is my friend. No, it's not like that. I like his occult work too, and I think he's interesting. Watch his videos a lot. There's some things I really don't like about his videos, and about him, of course. I mean, not about him, but about his videos usually, or his opinions. But globalism and globalization, both the same damn thing in a lot of ways. We need to, I think the left needs to be anti-globalization again. We need to call into question these international things, these international trade deals, these international things that people are pushing, corporations, big tech. I mean, I'm sure Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, Aaron Mate, all these people are definitely against the same thing as well. Globalization, globalism, the globalists. And maybe it's not as crazy as like Alex Jones or David Icke might say with, you know, these ideas. Hopefully, oh shit, I mentioned those two words. Oh, it's not as crazy. Hopefully I won't go get flagged. I'm just, you know, I'm kind of high right now too. Anyways, so these two things are the same damn thing in many ways. Let's not kid ourselves. Now, the response to them from the left and the right may be different in some ways. You know, I mean, a libertarian will believe in just unfettered free trade will work itself out, you know, without these global bodies over them. Left-winger will say, or left-winger, right-winger say that, or libertarian, or I don't know. But left-winger will say, oh, we need laws against these bodies from even coming about in the first place. You know, we have different ideas of resolutions to this problem. This is a problem. This is what's happening. This is why things got so fucked up over the last year in many ways, just from various points of view. You can go into this in any way. And this is just something that's very, very important. We have to really hammer it home that we're talking about the same damn thing on the left, at least back then. And Karl Warwick, speaking of him, he does talk about these types of leftists from the past. He talks about like the Iraq war leftists, like, you know, those people. And that's what I'm talking about, those types of people. But those types of people are more rare nowadays because there's a lot of times it's like they're so obsessed with Trump. There's these neocons that are saying, oh, I like his article. Oh, you know, like some member of my family will be like, I like this article against Trump. It's from a neocon, but I kind of like him now. Like, dude, 20 fucking years ago, you would have like shuddered, and friends of friends or people, you would have shuddered at the thought of supporting a fucking neocon, regardless if it was against Hitler, if it was against fucking Joseph Stalin, if it was against Pol Pot. I mean, an asshole versus a worse asshole, they're both assholes. Who cares? Be against assholes in general. And I'm saying, like, maybe, you know, dare I say, there are some good things about one of those assholes, if you know what I mean. I mean, more of a clown than a real orange Hitler. That's just my opinion. People are so focused on that, you know, that's what Trump derangement syndrome is, as I did in my previous video. But, you know, it's like kind of one of those things that we just all need to be aligned on, in my opinion, that people should bring to people's attention. And we're going to be smeared, you know, called Russian bots, or, you know, soft on Nazi Trump supporters by trying to unite with these people and trying to have dialogue with people that are ostensibly against the same fucking thing. You know, your Republican flag-waving person 20 years ago wouldn't have been against NAFTA necessarily. They're, I like NAFTA. I like cheap goods from Walmart. You know, now they're like, I'm globalist. That NAFTA is going to take my job. You know, I'm doing these stereotypical things. I'm being like Cenk Uygur. That's my Cenk Uygur expression because he's a fucking asshole who punches down. But you know, it's like we're against the same damn thing. We are. The people on the left that are against big tech censorship, against these global bodies taking sovereignty from your basic average human being on the planet, we're against the same fucking thing. We might have different disagreements on, you know, certain things with gender politics or identity politics or whatever the fuck, you know, or even the solution to the economy. Might think it should be a free for all without corporate welfare is still better than corporate welfare and then no welfare. You know what I mean? That's in my opinion. So libertarianism, I don't know. You know, I've kind of gone the rounds with libertarians. I mean, you can see my Ayn Rand books in my fucking bookshelf. You know? It's pretty glaringly obvious that I have some Ayn Rand books, which is my favorite one. You found that, anyways. But yeah, we need to be against the globalists or globalizationers, whatever you want to call them. These global bodies that are taking people's sovereignty from them, because it's dangerous. I talk about technocracy. You know, there's a technocracy. The big tech companies, the big P-word companies, I'll just say that, you know, the military industrial complex, all those people. It's a big fucking conglomerate of bullshit. And the fact that the left, or the Democrats especially, have not adopted these ideas in recent years is a sad statement upon our political system and our political zeitgeist. That's about all.